Heyo everybody, Haku here with my live reaction or read-through for Kubera, Season 2, Episodes 131 to 134, finishing off Falling Petals, and then, like I mentioned before, the next one's like 30-some chapters long, so I'll kind of just do however much I can or feels right within a week. Probably not less than 3 chapters, because, even if they're supremely long chapters, I feel like even 2 chapters is not going to be so long that I can't do a third, and I'd say probably not more than 5 chapters, because again, even if the chapters are kind of short, 5 is still probably going to be pretty long, so somewhere from 3 to 5 chapters probably for each video until we get through the next arc. But yeah, I think that's about all there is to say. There isn't too much. Like, I want to say that I really appreciate and love all of your comments and your support and everything, but a lot of the time with the comments, I feel like I'm like, oh, I want to answer every individual comment, but then I read them and I'm like, wow, that was pretty comprehensive, and I don't really have anything left to say to it other than thank you, but I feel like it would feel a little bit fake if I'm just saying thank you to everyone and that's just it. So thank you for all of your comments, genuinely. It's just that a lot of the time I'm like, well, you kind of said everything there is to say that I didn't say in the video itself, and there's nothing more I have to say that I didn't say in the video itself. But either way, I think that's it. I don't think there was anything else I wanted to say before I started reading this time around. I was outside working all day yesterday, so I didn't get time to do the video on the normal Monday, so I'm recording this on Tuesday, and I'm planning for you to see it on Tuesday. I'm planning to post it not too long after recording, but we'll see how it ends up. But yeah, I guess that's it. So that's why this is on Tuesday this week instead of the normal Monday. But yeah, either way, let's just read these, read the afterwards for them, and see what the back half of this arc is gonna give us now that we are getting into some pretty climactic stuff in terms of all of the stuff we've seen up until now coming together for Season 2. Like I said last week, it could be a potential thing where the big 30 chapter one next time is jumping back and forth like we've been doing, or maybe it'll be like a Season 1 situation where we focus on the Shuras and Rin Hollow group, and then we focus on the group here at Arrow Plateau. But honestly, with the way things have been going, I think that jumping back and forth is probably more likely. I just feel like we're not spending 30 chapters just with one group of characters. But either way, starting 131, we have Mirha's defending her. Yes, apparently Urha is also by her side. We have Saha. I'm not entirely sure, but knowing how he'll do anything for his daughter, he will probably... It doesn't matter. It's clear on what basis they're going to defend her, but your testimony alone as a witness from Carte is enough. I'm sorry I couldn't be of more help. Mr. Saha, we have Lorraine running in. I need to talk to you for a minute. We'll talk after the meeting. She still acts all polite in public. If she dislikes him so much, why not just break off the engagement? It won't do any good to talk after the meeting. What are all those halves here for? Why did I summon all those halves here? No one's guessed the reason yet. Can you? That's not what I mean. I'm asking you because I don't know. I clearly refused when Asha came to ask me for permission to use the life search system. The condition was that she needed permission from every AA, so at the time when I refused, she shouldn't have been able to use the life search system. But after that, Asha got her hands on the results of the search, and she used those results for murder. Another AA searched on Asha's behalf. Are you suspecting me right now? Lila and Claude are both possible candidates. I'm not just suspecting you. I think that Lorraine does seem the most likely to me. Like, I'm pretty sure when we found out, like, more of this information in the past, I probably also first suspected Lorraine. It just kind of, to me at least, you can't, like, fully guess anyone because Kurigam's written this really well, where we have a ton of stuff set up, and yet we don't have enough information to really make a true call either way. Like, it could go either way and still be justified to make sense. So while I think Lorraine's most likely, there could be explainable, like, reasons for Lila when it comes to Lila's relationship with gods and what she thinks about all of this. And we, again, still just don't know enough to where Lila could be. Even, like, not just helping her to help her, but even planning stuff herself. And then Claude, of course, is somebody who is, like, purposefully been made to be very mysterious. I don't think that Claude is really on Asha's side, exactly. I think Claude, well, everybody's on their own side, really, when it comes to Kubera. Everyone has their own motivations, but I do think that Claude wouldn't have done this with Asha. It doesn't feel to me like Claude found out what Asha was doing until more recently. If he even, like, really figured it out. But again, I think most of these, like, high-ranking characters kind of figure, but just didn't have, like, real evidence until recently. We're trying to give Asha the benefit of the doubt for their own reasons, like Lutz. But continuing on. Anyway, if this is such an important issue, you could have talked to me about it before. Even if you suspect me, you could have at least... We're engaged after all. Keeping public and private affairs separat's a leader's most important virtue, Lorraine. If you're curious about something, you'll hear about it in the conference hall. And he just leaves. How crafty of you to try to use your position as his fiancé at times like this, after running away to Atera because you didn't want to get married to him. You should have just said yes and gotten married. Who knows? Maybe you would have made exceptions if you two were married. This was a really good scene. That was solid. Falling Petals Part 5. Like, it gives you a lot to think about. The facial expressions are really well done. And with many things in Kubera, when it comes to this serious stuff, it's one of those things where reading it in the future, I'm sure, once you know the answers to a lot of this stuff, you'll be able to see, oh, this is why this character made that decision. This is why this character did this. It's just like, I can tell there's more going on, but until I know what the sort of answer is in the future, until I have more information, it's like I can't look back and tell. 28 incidents occurred over a 4-year period from year N7 to N10, and following a year-long period without any incidents, the 29th occurred in N12. Asha was arrested for this 29th incident, the reason being that she received her magic license in N11. Okay, so almost all were before the magic license. It was easy to track her from the Magic Guild since she holds a magic license, and while examining the magic records for the investigation of this case, the other 28 cases came to light. Here's one question that comes to mind. Why would Asha have tried to get her magic license in spite of the danger of the other 28 incidents being revealed? Okay, that's because she didn't know the location of her 29th target. I was going to say that she needed the magic license to get to the 29th target, but I mean, that's kind of the same thing, I guess. I was going to say, oh, I was wrong, but yet needing to know the location's kind of the same. The previous 28 people were all in places that she knew of, but the location of the last person had changed. That's why Asha earned her AA rank magic privileges in an attempt to use the Life Search system. Now, as you can probably guess from what you've heard so far, Asha's motive for murder was a name. I have some strong evidence here to support this too. The original names of the victims whom Asha killed were all Kubera. They all have the same name, we see Heidi and Lorraine, and the name of a god at that. How on earth? How on Willarv? But Asha was not promoted to AA in the end. How'd she use the search system? Ron, is this what you were worried about? It really is shocking. No, this is just the beginning. There are even records from that time of Asha threatening the examiner in an attempt to obtain her AA rank, but she didn't end up getting it because she didn't take the barrier test. There's no way of telling how Asha managed to get her hands on the results of the Life Search system after that, but in the year N12, there were records of every AA logging into the system except Saha. Claude, Lila, and Lorraine. It appears that one of these three searched the name Kubera, and shared the results with Asha, although I will have to look more into this. Anyway, Asha's murders did not end with the 29th case. The screen shows the results of searching the name Kubera in N11. As you can see, there were over 30 people with this name at the time. But if Asha, having already received a sentence of accidental manslaughter, were to kill someone again and be arrested, it may not have ended with just a penalty that time, which is why she chose to use Hoti Vishnu. And the crowd starts talking. Asha used Hoti Vishnu to manipulate the evidence and successfully avoided being on the list of suspects after the 30th incident. This is when the 3 unsolved cases occurred. As you can see that she used Hoti Vishnu to manipulate the evidence and the records of Hoti Vishnu use from that time. It's interesting, too, how the first 28 were able to happen in such a short period, and then it seems like it became more and more difficult to get to the remaining ones, and it took a longer time between the next ones. Oh my god, Asha, this is so shocking. Why would she do that? Having vanished after 3 unsolved cases, Asha showed herself again in Terra on the 10th month of N15, but my guess is that another murder occurred before this disappearance, which has still not come to light. Does the defendant's attorney wish to say anything in rebuttal to what's been said so far? No, I acknowledge all of the charges. It's true that she committed premeditated murder against the people with the god's name, that AA performed a life search on her behalf, and that there was another murder while she was in hiding. Wait, so all of it's true? We have curry popcorn with Claude? I voted for in the accidental manslaughter. But why people with the god's name? What on earth is Mira here to defend her for? However, everyone, we need to think about the reason that Asha killed these people. So this is the sort of direction that they're going to take. Honestly, interesting direction if it's going to be the argument that Asha had a reason, and it's actually good that she murdered these people. If the defense is, oh yes, she murdered them, but actually... If Asha's simply a hideous murderer, then why on earth would she come all the way to Era Plateau and let herself be captured without any resistance? Now, what you see here is the life search results from year N11. As was explained before, these are the locations of the Kuberas after killing the 28th person, and the 29th one could not be found. Here, the 29th person who died at the start of the year N12 was an Eloth. It must be one of these two. I'll now erase one of the dots. The 3 people who died in unsolved cases are these 3 dots, in southwest Eloth. And, well, there would have been more murders after that, but there's no way for me to know exactly where they were, so I'll omit it for now. What I want to show you all is this part. What's she doing? It looks like she's erasing almost all of them. All of the spots that I've marked with an X are areas destroyed by Shura attacks. Okay, we're seeing that all the other Kuberas were killed by Shura attacks. And because of that, the argument's going to be, I'm kind of seeing it come together, what we got into kind of in last video, where if the Shuras are going to destroy everyone to kill the person with the god's name, but Asha gets there first and just murders them, then it saves all the people who would be killed from the Shura attack. And they're going to say Asha was just doing it to stop the Shura attacks, potentially. As any high rankers here will know, these were the so-called Red Sky incidents. And it's crazy how just like one Rakshasa, like Marana, can just be wiping out villages all over the planet. Asha knew that these Red Sky incidents were going to occur, because she met a god and received an oracle when she was in Karte. An oracle? Asha received an oracle, really? Can we trust that? Let's just keep listening for now. Asha knew that the Shuras were after people named Kubera, and she also knew that the Red Sky incidents would cause even greater damage if she let them live. So she found and eliminated these people in advance who would have been a source of trouble. As a result, in places where Asha hunted down and killed someone, the number of sacrifices was minimized to just 1, whereas places where Asha could not find the people named Kubera ended up being completely destroyed. I do not deny the fact of Asha's murder itself, but her murders were not for personal reasons, rather they were for the sake of saving more lives. That is why, in consideration of this purpose of hers, I feel that her sentence must be decided upon leniently. That does make sense, but it's still a murder. I like this too, because it is really a genuine moral conundrum. It is because murder is still bad. Innocent people are still being killed. But because those innocent people were being killed, other people were spared. And if she doesn't kill people, more people get killed. It is a, actual, genuine problem. And I think that the only real solution is, I think, what they're saying right now, why didn't Asha discuss it with anyone before? Because that's really the only clapback I see, is that why not tell people that this was going on? I mean, Asha's powerful enough, she's from Cartier and everything. I feel like people would have believed her, especially, if they didn't believe her at first and people started getting Red Sky incidented, then they probably would have started believing. So that's really, I think, the only argument, or the strongest argument at least, against Asha right now, is that why not just tell people and try to protect the people with the gods' names? But then again, that itself could have caused more sacrifices if they tried to protect the people with the gods' names, which led to Shuras, which are generally much more powerful than humans, going on the attack against their cities. They could just destroy all of Wilrarv. Why would she make a decision about a matter which involves the lives of countless people? On what authority? That's a good question. Why did Asha decide on her own without telling anyone else? It was for your sake, everyone. If Asha had told us about this in advance, it would have led to a long dispute over the issue whether to track down and kill the people named Kubera, or to try to protect them, even if it leads to greater danger. And as a result of that dispute, whether we sacrificed the few for the many or the many for the few, we would have all shared the guilt for that. But Asha carried this guilt all by herself, in exchange for not telling us and getting her own hands dirty by committing murder. She alone was burdened with the guilt that we all should have to share, and chose to become a murderer. If that was her intention, then it's not a bad thing. And again, this is a really, really good conflict, because there is no good and bad. Both ways of going about this would be saving people, but both ways of going about this would also be killing people. I'll finish my statement here. I hope you will give Asha a favorable sentence for her just cause. She shouldn't be executed. Yeah. Well, Miss Heidi, what do you think? Does Mirha's statement seem right to you? No. Something strange. Why is everyone agreeing with her? This is not a just cause. This is so not right. If it were me, I wouldn't have done it. Making up some plausible excuse to cover up her actions doesn't make her original intent disappear. Lilia, bring in the halves. And then, who are those halves? What are halves doing at this meeting? Let me ask you, does killing a half count as murder? No, of course not. It's not legally considered a murder yet. That's right. Killing a half isn't legally considered a murder yet. That also applies to the halves that Asha killed. The 29 accidental manslaughter cases didn't include halves. These are the acquaintances of the halves that Asha killed. Wait. What? 29 accidental manslaughter case. So just the 29th, maybe? Didn't include halves? These are the acquaintances of the halves that Asha killed, their friends and family remembering their buried loved ones, whose deaths were not even treated as murders. Oh, okay. I think really the confusing thing here, I'm like, where did they mess up? Because if they messed up with 29th, that would be different. Whereas if they messed up with case rather than cases, that would be different. And and there maybe should be a comma somewhere, but it should be cases. That would, I think, make it make more sense. So the 29 accidental manslaughter cases didn't include halves, which means that she killed 29 humans, and that counted as murder. But there are also a bunch of halves that didn't even count as murder, so the actual body count is much higher than 29. Now, I'm going to talk about what Asha used Hoti Vishnu for, or Hoti Vishnu 1,000 times for, as well as how she managed to acquire her remarkable magic ability. Okay, we're about to get even more lore drops. That was a heavy chapter. It was really well done. Like I kind of said, going through it the entire time, I kind of like explained why this part was incredible and that part was incredible, but that was very, very, very well done. Like, it's something that really makes you think. I mentioned it a bunch already and still have more chapters to read, but one of those things where nobody's right or wrong, because either way, you would be saving people. You would be saving people that would get murdered. And either way, you're also murdering innocent people that could have been saved. So regardless, one way or the other, like, it's an actual true trolley problem. And on top of that, you get into, okay, now that she's done all this stuff and we're doing a trial and all of that, you get into a situation of like, so how do we hold her accountable at this point? Because at the end of the day, still murder. And then bringing in the halves is good, but I can't wait to maybe get some more information out of Saha if we're actually really getting that next chapter, if we don't kind of sort of change subjects a little. But that was very, very good. Very long as well. Either way, though, let's go read the afterword and then keep reading. The afterword for this chapter says, I thought it would be late, but thank you, manager. I didn't think I could go on for several weeks with such boring content, so I tried to cram as much as I could into one post. Originally, this kind of content should be presented... How would you call this boring? This was like one of the best chapters. But it was a lot crammed in. Maybe it would feel more boring if this was split into multiple chapters, instead of all being condensed down into one, but it was very good. This kind of content should be presented by saying one sentence and showing various reactions from the audience. As I was just going out, the top rankers who came out as extras looked like some kind of idiots. The change in public opinion was like LTE. Then the engagement rumors between Saw and Lorraine have been rumored for a while now, but as soon as it was revealed in the original there was a crisis of broken engagement, the atmosphere was not good. The circumstances are a bit different for Calibloom, as they were attacked because of the divine items. Anyway, Calibloom was also attacked by Shura, and the red sky was also seen, so I guess it was included in the same incident. Then, an optical illusion that makes Saha appear larger. The incorrectly painted part's been corrected, the typo has been corrected. Okay, so got a little bit more info, but yeah, I guess it's time to see, and we see the blush there, Saha potentially having a suitor jealous of Lorraine. Might explain a little bit more of the animosity. But either way, we still have more to read, and this is turning into a long video already, so let's read the next one. Starting 132, and my throat's actually bothering me a bit, so hopefully that doesn't make reading this too bad. I had to stop a bunch of times because I coughed or got water in the first chapter. But we have the next part of Falling Petals, part 6. Asha's divine affinity is known to be 515, but that's only because old testing devices can only measure up to 4 digits. Her real divine affinity is 10,515. This number wasn't accepted properly since it's so extremely different from most magicians, but there are several other people whose divine affinity has been recorded low, so this in itself is not terribly unusual. A representative example is Gibralagis, deceased 10 years ago, who had an actual divine affinity of over 10,000. I knew about that. Really? I've never heard that before. Honestly, when you think about the powers of her magic, it makes no sense that her divine affinity would be so low. Jibble even killed Rakshasas on her own. Divine affinity is almost entirely inborn, and even if you try to train it, the effects are minimal. One could equip a godly item, but if the items detected by the testing device, you fail the test. So common sense tells us that Asha's divine affinity must have been high since she was a child. However, hello everyone. I am Lilia Shu, the branch president of Aeroplateau Magic Guild. I'm from the planet Carte, and I was second best in my class from the time I entered Eos, the only magic academy on Carte, until my graduation. The person who entered the school with me and was top of our class the entire time is the priestess Mirha sitting right over there. As you all know, Asha's also from the planet Carte. Asha was remarkably intelligent, surprising everyone at the Magic Academy by memorizing all 400 areas of the Carte waterway system at just 7 years old. Now, how were Asha's grades at the academy? First place. She just said Mirha and Lilia were the top two. Oh, right. Then third place? Or they're saying Lila there. Did I misread it earlier? No, it's Lilia earlier, so I'm going to stick with Lilia for now. I think this is probably the one that was mistyped. Alright, then third place? You probably all expected her grades to be high, but unfortunately, Asha never even entered the Magic Academy. She got a perfect score on the written exam, but she couldn't meet the basic entry requirement divine affinity of 300. And then we have Falling Petals Part 6. You may be thinking, maybe your divine affinity was over 10,000 back then as well, but it was displayed wrong. But that isn't so. Asha really had almost no divine affinity. Her magical powers were just as terrible as her low divine affinity, too. Isn't that right, Priestess Mirha? Please answer truthfully, Mirha. We can get more witnesses from Carte, and some of them would be officials from the Eos Magic Academy, says Saha. It's true. Asha had almost no magical abilities at the time, so she chose a career as a scholar instead of as a magician, and she entered a regular academy instead of the Magic Academy. And then Claude smiles. Thank you for answering, Priestess Mirha. Ultimately, this means that Asha used some unknown method to increase her divine affinity to over 10,000. These are the records of Asha's Hoti Vishnu uses. After mostly sporadic uses until N6, the number of uses increased dramatically starting in N7. There are a lot of records of her using it several times in a row in the same place. What could Asha have been doing at the time? Was she... Is it possible? Okay, she was... Is it that she was killing and devouring halves much like Ashura does to gain their powers? I was originally, before I, saw the shots of the sad-looking halves, I was going to say, was she training and then reversing herself and training and reversing herself so that she could basically train thousands of years worth? But I think that seeing the sad halves kind of makes me think she could have been somehow doing a Shura type thing and absorbing the power from the halves she was killing. The halves here will testify regarding these dates, since these are the dates on which their family and friends were brutally slaughtered. Did you know that too? No, not that. If you'll look here, the target of the spell divides into two at almost the same locations. One of them is herself, the other is the victims. This is evident when you compare these with the records of the murderous spells examined at the trial for the accidental murders before. When you look at these records together, Asha practiced these lethal spells on halves, and her purpose in using Hoti Vishnu at the time was to revive those who died more quickly than expected, as well as to reset her own number of spell uses when she ran out of spell uses during magic practice. So, it's kind of both of what I said. This seems like she trained by basically doing what she's done to Lise before. She basically trained by murder, revive, murder, revive, murder, revive. And is that how she got even stronger? But since the number of Hoti Vishnu usage and Asha's own energy cannot be reset, each time, or the time when each murder ended appears to have probably been the time when she used up all of her Hoti Vishnu for that day, or when she ran out of vigor. Practicing a spell by killing halves. That's terrible. She's not the only person who kills halves, regardless of how she killed them. It's not exactly murder. But would that really make her divine affinity go up? Question. I understand that Asha practiced magic by using... the racist does not care. Practiced magic using halves and brutally killed them. But what does that have to do with determining her sentence? Of course I think Asha should be severely punished, but that she should only be because she killed humans, not halves. She's like, let me make this clear. Only these people's murders count. Her sentence should not be like... she could have just stayed quiet, but she's like, hold on, I need to speak up. Her sentence should not be increased because of how she killed halves. Let's not lose sight of the focus of this case. And we have the others reacting. Of course, I'm not trying to discuss her sentence based on the fact that she killed halves. However, it means that we could perhaps doubt Asha's just cause. As you can see here, Asha went from using Hoti Vishnu less than 10 times a day at first to using it over 50 times daily. Just as with the other deadly spells, her daily number of uses increased tremendously. It may be understandable in a real fight against high-rank Shuras, but this growth speed seems much too dramatic considering she was practicing on halves. Was there something special about the halves who died? Everyone, it may hurt to say it, but we absolutely need your testimony to properly punish the criminal. Please say the original name of the halves who died. They were all Kubera. You know, it's kind of weird that halves would be named after a god, but, you know? That's right. Even the halves whom Asha killed were named after the god. As a result, the results of the life search showed that 61 Kuberas died from when Asha was transferred here until the start of N12. Among those, 29 humans were registered as accidental deaths. The other 32 were halves, and even then, she was only punished for one of them on a charge of destruction of property because the half had a guarantor. The other 31 cases were not even reported. If halves were recognized as human beings in our society, this incident would have come to light already, but this isn't the time or place for discussing the human rights of halves, so I'll skip that, since I know that even those who really hate halves have their own suffering to account for. No matter how many halves without guarantors that Asha killed, that itself is not a crime, but they were halves named after the god, and Asha hunted down those specific halves named after the god to practice magic. As a result, her daily spell uses and divine affinity grew rapidly. I'm not sure if Asha's attorney has anything to say about this. Does committing brutal murder for the sake of enhancing her personal magic abilities also count as a just cause? That's speculation. Having a name after a god is simply treated as blasphemy. It has no special influence on the individual. And Lorraine speaks up. What basis is there for her magic abilities increasing by killing them? Man, that's really good. That's a really good scene. If that's how you feel, then let me tell you something. It may sound absurd, but you're the one who brought up the oracle first, and since neither of us can prove anything, you're free to believe whatever you like. I also received an oracle during the Great Upheaval, and people start murmuring. If we assume that Asha's oracle is true, then the god that I met would not be the same one that she met. Even gods have conflicts among themselves. The god I met was Shurya, the god of light. At the time of the Great Upheaval, Shurya was worried that his friend Kubera was in great danger, and he might even disappear. At the time, I wasn't sure how a crisis like that might occur, but now I think I understand. Kubera's power was split between the people named after him. Since Asha practiced spells on people with divine power, her magic abilities grew quickly as if she practiced on high-rank Shuras, and while the reason for the increase in her divine affinity is unclear, this would not be unrelated to divine power either. You may call it speculation, but between her sudden increase in abilities from having no magical talent on Carte, and those numerous instances of using deadly spells against halves named after a god, I'm not sure if there could be a more persuasive explanation for the relationship between the two. I don't buy this just cause about her, wanting to reduce damage to people either. The Shuras killed Kubera during the Red Sky, the Shuras killed Kuberas during the Red Sky incident, and Asha likewise hunted down and killed Kuberas. But isn't it strange? Asha, who supposedly did this for a just cause, has actually helped the Shuras achieve their own goal more quickly right now. We can't be sure of the Shura's exact purpose, but it's clear that by all of the Kuberas dying, something favorable to the Shuras will happen. Hunting down and killing Kuberas to try to reduce the immediate damage is only helping the Shuras to achieve their goal more quickly. It would have been far more obvious to tell everyone about this in advance and then use every means possible to stop the Shuras after bringing the Kuberas inside the barrier. The fact that she single-handedly tracked down and killed the Kuberas in spite of this can only be seen as for the sake of improving her own magical abilities, as well as for helping the Shuras achieve their goal more quickly. I'm not sure whether it's true that she received an oracle from a god, or which god she received it from, but the gods only ever give us the right to choose. It's up to humans to make the final decision. Take responsibility for your own actions, Ashirahiro. Again, we still need to see Asha's perspective, and this isn't me defending Asha. This is me saying we need to see Asha's perspective because I want to know what actually happened with Kubera and Vishnu. I think that that's really important here. Because right now, I don't think that Asha was working for the Shura's benefit. And I don't necessarily think it was as selfless as trying to protect everyone either. I think it's probably somewhere in between. Because Asha was using the opportunity, hey, if I'm killing Kuberas anyway, I might as well kill them again and again and get even stronger. Asha was making selfish choices, but then again was getting stronger to do her own thing. And from some of the brief flashbacks we've seen, I thought there was one that made it look like Asha had a grudge against Kubera. And if so, again, I don't think Asha's helping the Shuras, but if she has a grudge against Kubera, then why? Did Kubera have something to do with everything that happened with Karte? Why have a grudge against Kubera? Or is it like all because of Vishnu and what Vishnu said? Like we still don't know what the oracle was. Please enter the meeting hall within 5 minutes of the final vote beginning. Those with a rank of less than 101 may participate in the final vote after reviewing the contents of the meeting. At first, I bought into what Mirha said, but after hearing Saha, it sounds like he's right. There were years before the Red Sky incident happened. If Asha told us in advance, we could have protected the Kuberas and people living in the villages could have been evacuated. I don't know if they could have, though. Because again, if the Shura started pooling their resources to start taking out the Kuberas, could the entire sort of ecosystem of Wilrarv have been taken down? Those poor people died without us even knowing because she didn't tell anyone. If we had also known about the attack on Atera in advance, we could have done something to prepare for it, like recruiting the priest candidates. The whole thing about hiding it from us to reduce the damages seems like a lie. That's true as well. Again, I am still conflicted on, I think that Asha is partially selfish or partially doing things that aren't good. Like, even if it is revenge against Kubera, that's still not good. Murdering these uninvolved people just because they have the power of the name out of revenge is still not good. But I think it's somewhere in between. But the big question, even bigger than I guess what Vishnu said is huge. Like, what is Asha's actual oracle? Why did we not get, like, why did Asha not actually testify anything? And Asha not testifying on top of why she didn't tell people ahead of time, I think that's important, because even if what Vishnu said or what Kubera did was important to what Asha was doing, still not telling anyone is difficult. And again, how do Claude or Lorraine play into this? Lila's not here right now, and I think that, like I said before, Lorraine was the biggest candidate for who helped Asha. If Asha didn't just, is it possible for her to have snuck in and used the Cerebro, basically? It did, like, for her to sneak in and use it herself? Is that not even possible? So I wonder what Lorraine's real thoughts when all of this comes out will be. And also Claude. We still have no idea how much Claude knows or what his thoughts or goal actually is. Then, did you see how Asha couldn't refute a single thing that he said? I thought she would have at least tried to defend herself. And again, it's huge that she didn't tell them before, and she's still not defending herself. So what is the significance of her refusing to tell anyone her side of what's going on? I voted for her during the accidental manslaughter trial because she was such an exemplary person and so young at the time. But then, are the Shuras trying to attack Rinhala right now doing that because of people named Kubera too? I wish we could see the results of the life search. There isn't anyone named Kubera here in the city, is there? No way, if there were. Would Asha have just left them alone? And another big aspect of it, again, there's so many different angles to look at this, is why was Lise different? Why was Lise special? Okay, so to be continued, because now we know it's not just Lise necessarily. If the divine power training that Asha did worked, that means that everyone named Kubera, unlike people named after other gods, everyone named Kubera had some of Kubera's power. So, is it that Lise reminded Asha of herself and she just couldn't go through with it? Or she was just too happy she couldn't go through with it? It is a big question to me. Or is it because Lise is the first time that, her purpose for murdering people named Kubera could have been, she was, like, if she was telling the truth and stuff, she was murdering people named Kubera so that the Shura wouldn't come along and kill even more people in the process of killing the person named Kubera anyway. But Lise was the first time that the place was wiped out, and meanwhile, Lise herself was a survivor of it. So it's like, at this point, Asha really didn't necessarily need to kill Lise anymore because she was gone. But then there's so many other things. So why then are the Shuras going after people named Kubera? And we know how Asha was because she had the information from the life search. But how do the Shuras find somebody named Kubera? Is it because of God Kubera? Can Shin Kubei sense the other Kuberas? And that's a part of the reason. And if so, why would he go along with the Shuras destroying stuff, going after the people named Kubera? Is it to get his own power back eventually? There's a lot of things to question when it comes to all that. But either way, I guess let's read the afterword and then go on to the next one. Afterword this time is, I only got one cut, but it pulled out the orchid. I thought it'd be late, but thank you, manager. Then Lilia originally wears high heels, but for some reason her heels are low now. Then among the main characters, he's the best at diving. These clothes were originally long-sleeved. It wasn't drawn incorrectly. Refer to Part 1, Episode 1. Then fixed a typo, thanks for letting me know. Yeah, is like, if Asha has a grudge against God Kubera, is God Kubera actually evil? Is he leading the Shura around to kill the other Kuberas to gain his own strength? But then you would think, why would the Shuras go along with that unless they don't actually know? Or why would they just believe him? Because the Shuras themselves even refuse to use Kubera's name. They always just call him him. So it's clear that they don't actually like God Kubera. So, very questionable. I'm just, there's so many different aspects to look at this situation from, and it feels like it's going to be we're going to get some answers in this season, but it feels like even some of these things that I'm bringing up that are related to this situation are probably things that I might not even learn for hundreds of chapters. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this is already like 40 some minutes just from 2 chapters. I might do the next 2 chapters next time since I'm already running behind and I need to also do ORV. I think I'm going to just leave it at 2 chapters for now and do the next 2 chapters some other time. 2 chapters does seem short, but this is kind of wild. I was not really expecting this to take this long. I wasn't really expecting it to be 45 minutes for just two of them. So I'm going to leave it at this for now, because even this is going to be a long video to go edit and do everything for. So I'll end the video here, and then I'll do the next two chapters next time. And then, like I said, the same will go on for the other videos after this. It's just I'm already behind, so I kind of don't want to have to try to make an hour-and-a-half video. So either way, thank you for watching so far, though. Part 2, the next two chapters will be up next Monday, I guess. Thank you. Like if you did like the video, comment down there. Tell me what you thought of these chapters, my thoughts and reaction. Subscribe for more. Kubera, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. If you want a link to the Discord server, it's free and open for anyone. If you want to help support the channel by dropping a super thanks or by sharing, it's appreciated. And if you want to help support the channel by becoming a patron or channel member, you'll get your name at the end of videos and get One Piece videos a little bit early. So thank you so much to people who are already members and patrons. Thank you to chosen regulars Evan, Holly, and Bertie Wooster, Magical Girls, FRNono, JA, and the V-Man. Sorry, my throat's still bothering me. Cheerton students, David Langstaff and Folded Ghoul, Slayer candidates, SG and Stans Eater, and Pure Elements, Pate Diallo, and Elsa the Storyteller. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching. Sorry, it's not really, a bit shorter, less chapters than I wanted to do, but you know, that is just, you know, things suck sometimes. So sorry for it being shorter than I had hoped, but thank you, and I'll see you all next time.